I'm now doing an oratory performance on Constance Markievicz. Do you know who the first woman elected onto the British Parliament was? Do you know her name? Do you know her story? Well, her name was Constance Markievicz, and I am going to tell you her story. Constance Markievicz was born in 1868 in Sligo in Ireland. She was born into the Anglo-Irish aristocracy, into a Protestant family, and expected to attend rich parties and marry someone of equal class. But from a young age, Constance Markievicz didn't know why she would have to do this, why she would have to marry a rich man instead of a poor man that she loved. So from a young age, she knew about socialism, and from there, she heard about Irish nationalism and working for her country, working for Ireland United. From there, she knew about becoming a suffragette and working for the women's votes, because she didn't understand why men had the right to vote for their leaders, for the men and women leaders, when the woman didn't have a right to vote. But at the age of 20, she left all this behind and moved to Paris to become an artist. There, she met Count Casimir Markievicz, where it was love. And together they moved back to Ireland to lead a flamboyant lifestyle of travel. But while they were in Ireland, in 1908, she rediscovered Irish nationalism. And because Count Casimir Markievicz didn't want to become involved in the political side, he left her, and Constance Markievicz was on her own again. From there, she heard about the Sinn Féin magazine, working for Irish independence, working for her country's independence. From there, she moved to Morgon's Daughters of Erin and founded her own group, Fianna na Éireann, a Republican group also working for the independence of Ireland. From there, she joined Sinn Féin, but she was frustrated with the lack of action. She understood that this was a pacifist group, but she didn't understand why all they had to do was talk about what they were going to do in the future if they were never actually going to do anything. So instead, she joined James Connolly and James Larkin, who would be big future parts in the coming Easter Rising. With them, she supported the strikers of the Transport Workers' Strike of 1913. And she saw the blood from innocent people just working for their country drop to the ground. And she knew she couldn't do this any longer. She knew that this wasn't right, these innocent people just working for their country. So she joined the Irish Citizen Army as a company commander, a very high rank for a woman at that time. And in 1916, she took part in the Easter Rising. She was sentenced to death. Her death was just going to be there and then, and no one was going to remember her, even all she did. There, she was sentenced to death as a rebel officer. But after, this was changed to a life sentence because authorities thought it would cause public outrage for a woman to be killed in public. But she didn't understand why she would live when a man would die. This wasn't right, and she knew it. Later, she was let out with the other Easter rebels in 1917, where she converted to Catholicism, and she was elected as an MP for Sinn Féin. There, she was the first woman elected onto a British Parliament, the first woman ever, and she turned it down. Later on, in 1918, she was re-imprisoned, but a year later, she was released again. And as soon as she was released, she was then elected as the first woman Minister of State on any European government. And at the debate, she opposed the treaty. She said, "I would sooner die than give a declaration of fidelity to King George and the British Empire. I fear dishonour, I do not fear death. I am not going to follow any person juggling petty, tricky ways into this Republican movement." And she supported the Republicans of the Civil War of 1922, but not actively because she knew that this would lead to more trouble. So she wasn't interned. She was later disillusioned by the Free State government because it just mirrored the old British one. So she knew she had to keep working in socialist Republican politics. And she did, to make her voice heard, to make her voice count, right until her death in 1927. But that wasn't really her death. I'm telling you this so you can remember her and remember what she did for Ireland. Why do we remember people like James Connolly and James Larkin, but not Constance Markievicz? Is it because she's a woman?